Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Kim and in today's video we're going to learn about the difference between the words MUTTA and VAAN. This video is split into 7 parts. First we're going through a very short introduction, followed by chapter 2 where we are going to focus then on the word MUTTA plus examples. Then in chapter 3 we are going to focus on the word VAAN plus examples, followed by chapter 4 then, where we're going to learn how to use MUTTA and VAAN interchangeably in a sentence. In chapter 5 then we'll focus on VAAN as the Puhekieli version of the word wine, followed by chapter 6 where we are going through some example sentences, and then in chapter 7 we will as always practice what we've learned today by solving some exercises together. So let's start with our first chapter. The introduction. What do the words MUTTA and VAAN mean? Both MUTTA and VAAN are conjunctions, which means they are connecting sentences. Usually both words do get translated in English as but, however, there's a slight difference between them. MUTTA directly translates as but, while VAAN actually means but instead or but rather. However, in English we often omit instead or rather, which is why both words do often get simply translated as but. So this explains why VAAN sometimes just appears as but, even though it actually means but rather or but instead. Now let's take a closer look at the word MUTTA. So MUTTA can follow both affirmative and negative statements or clauses. So that means MUTTA can be used with positive and negative sentences. What it means we will see in a couple of seconds. And then also important to know is that MUTTA is used when the second part of the sentence adds information that doesn't necessarily contradict the first part of the sentence directly. What does it mean? For example, haluan ostaa maitoa, mutta kauppa on kiinni means I want to buy milk, but the store is closed. So with MUTTA here, we express the fact that I want to buy milk, but I can't because the store is closed. So the two statements here, one is haluan ostaa maitoa, I want to buy milk, and the second one is kauppa on kiinni, the store is closed, do not stand here in a direct opposition. It's more like that the second part gives us an additional information, which is here that the shop is being closed. So the meaning of the sentence is that I want to buy milk, but I can't because the store is closed. So again, the two statements here in this sentence do not stand in a direct opposition to each other, but the second part, which is the shop being closed, shares some additional information. So let's repeat again. Haluan ostaa maitoa, mutta kauppa on kiinni. Haluan is the first person singular present tense of the verb haluta, which means to want. Ostaa here is our infinitive verb, meaning to buy. Maitoa means milk, standing here in the partitive case. Why? Because milk is uncountable. Mutta here means but, it works as our conjunction. Kauppa means store. On is the third person singular present tense of the verb olla, which means to be, and kiinni means closed. Let's repeat. Haluan ostaa maitoa, mutta kauppa on kiinni. I want to buy milk, but the store is closed. Let's have 2 more examples. Minä olen kotoisin Norjasta, mutta asun Saksassa. Means I'm from Norway, but I live in Germany. Minä olen kotoisin Norjasta. Here we have an affirmative statement, followed by the conjunction mutta, which gives us some more additional information, which here is that I'm living in Germany. Asun Saksassa. So let's repeat. Minä olen kotoisin Norjasta, mutta asun Saksassa. I'm from Norway, but I live in Germany. Let's have another example. En käy museossa, mutta haluaisin kyllä means I'm not visiting the museum, but I would really like to. So here, en käy museossa, which means I'm not visiting the museum, is a negative statement that gets followed by the conjunction mutta, which means but, in order to add some new additional information, which is that I would like to, expressed by haluaisin. Haluaisin, by the way, is the first person singular present tense of the verb haluta conditional mood. So let's repeat. En käy museossa, Mutta haluaisin kyllä means I'm not visiting the museum, but I would really like to. So when we look again at the examples, what we've learned is that mutta can follow both affirmative and negative statements. So the first example started with a positive sentence and the second example started with a negative sentence. And also we saw that mutta didn't contradict the first parts of the sentences directly, but instead added some extra information in the second part of the sentence. Alright, that's it for mutta. Now let's take a closer look at the conjunction VAAN. The conjunction VAAN is used after a previous negative statement or after a wrong assumption in order to correct it. And also important to know is that since VAAN is used after a previous negative statement, it shows that it requires a negation in the first clause, which can be, for example, a or any other form of negation. This is actually what makes the difference regarding the word mutta, which can follow both positive and negative clauses. So to sum it up, mutta can follow both positive and negative statements, and VAAN can only follow negative statements in order to correct them. For better understanding, let's have a look at some examples. Minä en ole museossa, vaan kirjastossa means I'm not in the museum, but instead in the library. Minä en ole museossa, I'm not in a museum, vaan kirjastossa, but instead in the library. So here we use VAAN in order to correct our first clause by sharing an alternative, which is olen kirjastossa, in the library. So here VAAN follows a negation, which we recognize here by the word en. So we correct a negative statement. So let's repeat. Minä en ole museossa, vaan kirjastossa. I'm not in a museum, but instead in a library. Minä en ole means I'm not. It's the negative first person singular present tense of the verb olla, which means to be. Museossa is the inactive case of museo, which means museum. Vaan here works as our conjunction, meaning but instead or but rather. And kirjastossa means in the library, it's the inactive case of kirjasto. Minä en ole museossa, vaan kirjastossa. I'm not in a museum, but in a library. Let's take another example. En tule, vaan jään kirjastoon means I'm not coming, but instead I stay in the library. So here we use vaan to correct a negative statement in the first clause by sharing an alternative, which is I'm going to stay in the library. So let's go step by step. En tule means I'm not coming. It's the negative first person singular present tense of the verb tulla, which means to come. Vaan here works as our conjunction, meaning but instead or but rather. Jään here is the first person singular present tense of jäädä, which means to stay or to remain. And then we have kirjastoon, which is the ilative case of kirjasto, which means library. Why do we need the ilative case here? Because of the verb jäädä. Jäädä requires the ilative case. Let's repeat. En tule, vaan jään kirjastoon. I'm not coming, but instead I stay at the library. Alright, we carry on with the next chapter, using vaan and mutta interchangeably in a sentence. So sometimes in some sentences we can use them interchangeably, but only when starting with a negative clause. So when we do this, then vaan corrects a mistaken statement, while mutta adds additional information without directly contradicting the initial statement. Let's take a look at one example. Leena ei auttanut sinua, vaan Amy auttoi means Leena didn't help you, but instead Amy helped. So here we are correcting a wrong statement, or let's say rather a wrong assumption. So the thing here is, if someone believes in a wrong fact, or let's say he assumes something that is wrong, then we can correct this by introducing a negative sentence or statement. For example, like here, Leena ei auttanut sinua, which means Leena didn't help you, followed by the conjunction vaan in order to correct the wrong assumption. So in other words, that means we have to use vaan since the purpose of the whole sentence is to correct the wrong statement or the wrong assumption. So to explain it easier, let's say someone said, Lena helped me. But you know the truth, and you know that it wasn't Lena who helped this person. So that's when you say Lena ei auttanut sinua, vaan Amy auttoi. Lena didn't help you, but Amy did. So as you see here with the first part of the sentence, we are introducing a negative sentence in order to correct the person's wrong assumption. And when we look at the second part of the sentence, with the conjunction vaan, we correct the wrong assumption and we also share who was the actual person who helped. It was actually Amy who helped. So Lena ei auttanut sinua means Lena didn't help you. Ei auttanut is the negative third person singular past tense of the verb auttaa, which means to help. Then we have here sinua, which is the partitive case of sinä. Then we have our conjunction vaan, which means but rather or but instead, followed by Amy auttoi, which means Amy helped. So here we are using vaan in order to clarify that instead of Lena, it was actually Amy who helped. So let's repeat. Lena ei auttanut sinua, vaan Amy auttoi. Lena didn't help you, but Amy helped. So in this sentence we used the conjunction vaan. Now we can also use in this sentence the conjunction MUTTA. Let's see how it changes the sentence. Lena ei auttanut sinua, mutta Amy auttoi. Means Lena didn't help you, but Amy helped. So here we use mutta in order to add new information about Amy helping you without directly correcting the first part of the sentence about Lena. So this way we see here also a very clear contrast between Lena, who didn't help you, and Amy, who actually was the one helping you. So with mutta here we add some new information. Let's repeat. Lena ei auttanut sinua, mutta Amy auttoi. Lena didn't help you, but Amy helped. So how do we know which conjunction we have to use here? The choice here between the words vaan and mutta here depends on your intention and the context of the conversation. So to sum it up, it actually depends on you what you want to say. Let's have one more example. Ei huomenna, vaan ylihuomenna means not tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow. So also here we are correcting a wrong assumption or statement by using the conjunction vaan. However, we can also use mutta. For example, ylihuomenna, mutta vasta kello 11 means the day after tomorrow, but not before 11 o'clock. So with the conjunction mutta here, we are not negating or rejecting the statement of the first sentence, but instead we are adding some further information. So let's repeat. Ei huomenna, vaan ylihuomenna means not tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow, and ylihuomenna, mutta vasta kello 11. We carry on with the next chapter, something a bit off topic. Since we are already discussing the word vaan, there's one more thing to mention regarding puhekieli, which is the spoken language. Sometimes when you hear vaan in a sentence, it can actually be the word vain, meaning only. The reason is, in spoken Finnish, vain gets pronounced as vaan. However, it is important to note that in this case, vaan functions as an adverb and not as a conjunction anymore. So in short, vaan in puhekieli means only. Here are two examples. Aina vaan sataa means it's always just raining. So aina means always. Vaan here is actually puhekieli and it means only or just. And sataa means raining. It's the third person singular present tense of the verb sataa, which means to rain. So let's repeat. Aina vaan sataa. It's always just raining. Let's take another example. Mä käyn vaan nopeasti kaupassa means I'm just going quickly to the store. So mä here is puhekieli standing for I. In standard language it's minä. So mä is the puhekieli version of minä. Käyn here is the first person singular present tense of the verb käydä, which means to go to and return or to visit. Vaan here is the puhekieli version of vain, which here means just. Nopeasti here means quickly. It's the Puhakieli version of nopeasti, meaning quickly. So nopeasti is, by the way, an adverb. And kaupassa is the inessive case of kaupa, which means store. Why do we use the inessive case here? Because of the verb käydä. So when we have käydä plus a location, then the location has to stand in the inessive case. So let's repeat. Mä käyn vaan nopeasti kaupassa. I'm just going quickly to the store. So to sum it up, vaan is a conjunction. It usually means but instead or but rather. However, in puhekieli it can mean only or just. Then it works as an adverb. Alright, now we move on to our next chapter, the example sentences. Annella on poikaystävä, mutta hän asuu yksin. Means Anne has a boyfriend, but she lives alone. So mutta here expresses that despite Anne having a boyfriend, she still lives alone. Annella on is the minulla on structure, which means Anne has. Poikaystävä, boyfriend. Anne has a boyfriend. Mutta here works as our conjunction. Hän is a pronoun meaning she. Asuu means lives. It's the third person singular present tense of the verb asua, which means to live somewhere. And yksin means alone. So let's repeat. Annella on poikaystävä, mutta hän asuu yksin. Anne has a boyfriend, but she lives alone. So with the conjunction mutta here, we are not negating the fact that Anna has a boyfriend, which stands in the first part of the sentence, but it shares some additional information, which is that she's still living by herself. Annella on poikaystävä, mutta hän asuu yksin. Let's take another example. Eilen ostin uuden kaapin, mutta en voinut viedä sitä kotiin autolla. Means yesterday I bought a new closet, but I couldn't take it home by car. So let's go step by step. Eilen means yesterday. Ostin means I bought. It's the first person singular past tense of the verb ostaa, which means to buy. Uuden kaapin means a new closet. So kaapin is the genitive case of kaappi, which means closet. And uuden here is the singular genitive of the word uusi, which means new. Since the word uusi refers to the closet, it also has to stand in the genitive case. Then we have mutta, which works as our conjunction, meaning but. En voinut viedä means I couldn't take away. It's the negative first person singular past tense of the verb voida. Viedä is our verb standing here in its infinitive form, meaning to take away or to bring away. Sitä, here's the partitive case of se, which refers to the closet. Why do we need the partitive case here? Because here we have a negative sentence. Then we have kotiin, which is the illative case of koti. And autolla means by car. It's the adjective case of auto. So here we use mutta in order to mark a shift from our expectation, which is taking the closet home, to the actual outcome, which is not being able to do so by car. So the problem probably here is that the closet is too big for the car. So let's repeat. Eilen ostin uuden kaapin, mutta en voinut viedä sitä kotiin autolla. Yesterday I bought a new closet, but I couldn't take it home by car. Next one. Matti ei ole Turussa tänään, vaan Tukholmassa. Means today Matti is not in Turku, but instead in Stockholm. So ei ole here is the negative third person singular present tense of the verb olla, which means to be. Turussa here is the inessive case of Turku, which is a city in Finland. Tänään means today. Vaan here is our conjunction, it means but instead. And Tukholmassa is the inessive case of Tukholma, meaning in Stockholm. So let's repeat. Matti ei ole Turussa tänään, vaan Tukholmassa. Today Matti isn't in Turku, but instead in Stockholm. Next one. Viime vuonna en matkustanut Sveitsiin, vaan olin koko ajan Japanissa. Means last year I didn't travel to Switzerland, but instead I was in Japan the whole time. So viime vuonna means last year. En matkustanut It's the negative first person singular past tense of the verb matkusta, which means to travel. Then we have Sveitsin, which means to Switzerland. It's the ilative case of Sveitsi, which means Switzerland. Vaan here is our conjunction meaning but instead. Olin means I was. It's the first person singular past tense of the verb olla, which means to be. Koko ajan means the whole time. And Japanissa means in Japan. It's the inessive case of Japani, which means Japan. So let's repeat. Viime vuonna en matkustanut Sveitsiin, vaan olin koko ajan Japanissa. Last year I didn't travel to Switzerland, but instead I was in Japan the whole time. Alright, next one. Salzburg on pieni, mutta mielenkiintoinen kaupunki means Salzburg is a small but interesting town. By the way, Salzburg is a famous small town in Austria. So let's go through it. On pieni means is small. On is the third person singular present tense of the verb olla, which means to be. Pieni means small. Mutta here is our conjunction meaning but. Mielenkiintoinen means interesting and kaupunki means city or town. So let's repeat. Salzburg on pieni, mutta mielenkiintoinen kaupunki. Salzburg is a small but interesting town. Let's have another example. Tavallisesti menen koulusta suoraan kotiin, mutta tänään haluan käydä ensin kahvilassa. Usually I go straight home from school, but today I want to visit the coffee shop first. So let's go step by step. Tavallisesti means usually, it's an adverb. Menen means I go, it's the first person singular present tense of the verb mennä, which means to go. Koulusta here means from school, it's the elative case of koulu, which means school. Then we have suoraan, which means straight. It's an adverb describing the manner of going. Then we have kotiin. It's the elative case of koti, which means home. Here we need the elative case because of the verb mennä, which means to go. Then we have mutta here, which works as our conjunction, meaning but. Tänään means today. Haluan means I want. It's the first person singular present tense of the verb haluta, which means to want. Käydä means to visit or to go to, standing here in its infinitive form. Ensin means first, it's an adverb. And kahvilassa here is the inessive case of kahvila, which means coffee shop. Here we need the inessive case because of the verb käydä. Remember the rule? Käydä plus location in the inessive case. So also here we use mutta as a conjunction, not to contradict the first part of the sentence, but to add some extra information. Tavallisesti menen koulusta suoraan kotiin, mutta tänään haluan käydä ensin kahvilassa. Usually I go straight home from school, but today I want to visit the coffee shop first. Next example. Minä en juo kahvia, vaan vettä. Means I don't drink coffee, but water. So minä en juo means I don't drink. It's the negative first person singular of the verb juoda, which means to drink. Kahvia is the partitive case of the word kahvi, which means coffee. Vaan here works as our conjunction, meaning but instead. Vettä, partitive case of vesi, which means water. Here again we need the partitive case because we're talking about an uncountable amount of water. So here in the sentence we use vaan in order to correct the first statement of the sentence by saying that I drink water instead of coffee. So let's repeat. Minä en juo kahvia, vaan vettä. I don't drink coffee, but instead water. Next one. Minä odotin sinua, mutta sinä et tullut. Means I waited for you, but you didn't come. So minä odotin means I waited. Odotin is the first person singular past tense of the verb odottaa, which means to wait. Sinua here is the partitive case of sinä. Here we need the partitive case because of the verb odottaa. Remember the rule, odottaa plus partitive case. Then we have mutta here, which is our conjunction meaning but. Sinä is a pronoun and it means you. Et tullut means you didn't come. It's the negative second person singular past tense of the verb tulla, which means to come. So let's repeat. Minä odotin sinua, mutta sinä et tullut. Also here we are not negating the first part of the sentence, but we are adding some extra information. We are not negating that I was waiting for you, but we are adding the information that you didn't come. Minä odotin sinua, mutta sinä et tullut. And one more example with VAAN puhekieli. Eilen mä söin vaan puuroa means yesterday I only ate porridge. So eilen means yesterday. Mä is the puhekieli version of minä, which means I. Söin is the first person singular past tense of the verb syödä, which means to eat. Vaan here is actually the puhekieli version of vain, which means only or just, and puuroa means porridge, standing here in the partitive case because again we're talking here about an uncountable amount of porridge. So let's repeat. Eilen mä söin vaan puuroa. Yesterday I only ate porridge. And one last example before we carry on with the next chapter. Mikko ei osaa pelata koripalloa, mutta minä osaan. Means Mikko doesn't know how to play basketball, but I know how to. So Mikko ei osaa means Mikko doesn't know how to. So ei osaa here is the negative third person singular present tense of the verb osata, which means to know how to. Pelata means to play, here in terms, for example, of sports. Koripalloa means basketball. It's the partitive case of koripallo, which means basketball. Mutta here's our conjunction meaning but. Minä osaan means I can, I know how to. Osaan, here's the first person singular present tense of the verb osata. So let's repeat. Mikko ei osaa pelata koripalloa, mutta minä osaan. Mikko does know how to play basketball, but I know how to. Alright, now we carry on to our last chapter for today. For each task we have 5 seconds to solve. So let's go. What do we have to fill in, mutta or VAAN? We wanna say, I'm from Norway, but I live in Germany. Minä olen kotoisin Norjasta, asun Saksassa. Do we have to fill in mutta or VAAN? That's right, the answer is mutta. Minä olen kotoisin Norjasta, mutta asun Saksassa. I'm from Norway, but I live in Germany. Next one. Write the sentence in puhekieli. Minä käyn vain nopeasti kaupassa. That's right, it's mä käyn vaan nopeasti kaupassa. Means I'm just going quickly to the store. Next one. What do we have to fill in? VAAN or mutta? We wanna say I want to come, but I don't have time. Minä haluan tulla. Minulla ei ole aikaa. What do we have to fill in? That's right. The correct answer is mutta. Minä haluan tulla, mutta minulla ei ole aikaa. I want to come, but I don't have time. Next one. We wanna say Matti is not in Turku today, but instead in Stockholm. What do we have to fill in? Matti ei ole Turussa tänään. Tukholmassa. What do we have to fill in? Is it mutta or VAAN? That's right, it's VAAN. Matti ei ole Turussa tänään, vaan Tukholmassa. Remember, VAAN means but instead. Today Matti isn't in Turku, but instead in Stockholm. Next one. Here you see 4 words, and the task is to form a sentence out of them. The sentence should be, I don't come, but instead I stay at the library. So the words are tulla, VAAN, jäädä, and kirjasto. Put them into the right forms in order to express, I don't come, but instead I stay at the library. Alright, let's compare. So the solution is en tule, vaan jään kirjastoon. I don't come, but instead I stay at the library. So en tule means I don't come. It's the negative first person singular present tense of the verb tulla. Then we have the conjunction VAAN because we want to say but instead. Then we have jään, which is the first person singular present tense of the verb jäädä, followed by kirjaston, which is the elative case of kirjasto, meaning library. Why does the library stand here in the elative case? Because of the verb jäädä, which means to stay or to remain. So let's repeat. En tule, vaan jään kirjastoon. I don't come, but instead I stay at the library. So yeah, that's it for today. I hope you liked this video. If you want to learn more Finnish, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day and see you next time.